What's going on, everyone? You're back with your boy Jono for another quick math lesson. Today we're going to look at how to multiply surds together. And this concept is the key that unlocks all of surds for the whole thing. If we're on top of this, the rest of the lessons become much easier and you won't have to do as much work moving forward. So we already know that opposite operations undo each other. So for example, if I had 7 as a number and then I went plus 3 minus 3, the answer is still 7. The plus 3 and minus 3 cancelled each other out. And then the same thing happens for multiplication. If I did 7 times 4 divided by 4, it would still just equal 7. The times 4 divide 4 cancel each other out. This is the exact same for square roots and squaring. They undo each other. And we're going to see why in this example here. If I've got root 4 all squared, that means I'm doing square root of 4 times by the square root of 4. Well, I know the square root of 4 is 2, so this is really 2 times 2, which is equal to 4. I don't have to do this every single time though. All I really need to know is that the square root and the square, they kind of cancel each other out. So the answer is just whatever under the root. So for this next one, the answer is just 5. The first general rule of multiplication with surds is this, that x square rooted all squared is just equal to x. The number under the root just stays the same. If we're on top of that, the next rule becomes incredibly easy to see as well. The reason this is so helpful is because it allows us to either combine or break down surds easily, so we get a more simplified answer without having to try too hard. So we know that root 3 times by root 3, or root 3 squared, is equal to 3. But we also know that the square root of 9 is equal to 3 as well. What's really interesting about those two numbers is that I could just put this all under the same square root. The square root of 3 times 3 is the square root of 9, which is equal to 3. So it didn't actually matter if those 3's were in different square roots or they were under the same square root. And this is the second general rule that we need to learn. The rule is, if we're just using algebraic terms, root A times root B is equal to root AB. Or the other way around, root AB is equal to root A times root B. We're either combining two roots into one, or we're breaking one root into two. We're going to do a couple of combining examples first. So if I've got root 3 times root 7, this is exactly the same as putting 3 times 7 under the same square root. So the answer is just root 21. You get full marks for that. That's all the work you need to do. You don't even need to do that first step. I'm just doing that to show you how we are using this rule and why it applies. You might see examples like this where we've got a whole number multiplied by a root, and some students just go, boom, root 10, easy days. But we have to make sure that this rule only applies to two numbers that are both under square roots. For this example, the answer is just 2 times root 5, or 2 root 5, not writing in that multiplication sign. So if we've got two terms that are both surds with coefficients out the front or whole numbers out the front, all we have to do is multiply the whole numbers like normal and then multiply the surds. So for this one, I just do the 4 times 3 as normal. So the front number is going to be equal to 12. Then I've got root 7 times root 2. So the square root for this answer is just going to be root 14. And that's my final answer. I've done all the work I need to. Multiply the whole numbers, then multiply the surds. So when we break down these surds, we're going to go the opposite way. We're going to have one surd and we want to turn it into 2. The most important thing for this whole topic is that we're really looking for square factors, because this will let us have a whole number multiplied by a surd instead of just having two confusing surds afterwards. So for example, if I had square root of 12, I could go, 6 and 2 are factors, so this would be the same as root 6 times root 2. But this is still really confusing. That doesn't mean very much to me. Instead, what I'm going to do is use a square factor. So the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. I know that the square root of 4 is equal to 2. So this surd simplified becomes 2 root 3. This is the major takeaway for today's lesson. If you can find the square factor, you will get these questions right every single time. So if I've got root 20, yeah, I could do root 10, but that's not one that I'm looking for. I could do root 4 times by root 5. Root 4 becomes 2, so it's 2 times root 5. The answer is 2 root 5. Full marks, happy days. I do still like to set it out like this with these number of lines. I do think it's really helpful. I also try really hard to put the square factor at the front so you do know that they're multiplied. These are just some little pro tips to make sure your scaffolding's correct, but this will 100% get you full marks in every single Surd question. The big pro tip that I have for students that they never really think about is you can just use your calculator to check your answer. I'm saying that these two things are the exact same. They're equivalent Surds. So if I've got the square root of 18, I might go, okay, that's root 9 multiplied by root 2. Root 9 is 3, so the simplified Surd would be 3 times root 2. The best thing about this is we're saying root 18 is exactly equal to 3 root 2. And because of that, we can just throw it into our calculators. If I put in root 18 and just hit equal, the answer's like 4.24 blah blah blah, and then a whole bunch of decimals. Then I can just put in 3 times root 2. No way, it's the exact same number, 4.24. So what we know now is that I had definitely done this correctly. These two things are equal or equivalent, but it's in a more simplified form. So this example here is all we need to know for today's lesson. Being able to combine or break down Surds because of the multiplication rule is incredibly important, and it's going to be what most of your marks are on in the upcoming exams. Thanks so much for watching this lesson, guys, and I'll see you later.